say to you that listen, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who abuse you. If anyone strikes you on the cheek, offer the other also. And for anyone who takes away your coat, do not withhold even your shirt. Give to everyone who begs from you, and if anyone takes away your goods, do not ask for them again. Do to others as you would have them do to you. If you love those who love you, what credit is it to you? For even sinners love those who love them. If you do good to those who do good to you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners do the same. If you lend to those from whom you hope to receive, what credit is it to you? Even sinners lend to sinners to receive as much again. But love your enemies, do good, lend, expecting nothing in return. Your reward will be great, and you will be children of the Most High, for he is kind to the ungrateful and the wicked. Be merciful, just as your Father is merciful. Do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be put into your lap. For the measure you give will be the measure you get back. Here ends the words of the gospel. Well, good morning. And when Pastor John offered me the opportunity to take the pulpit this morning at the end of our first planning retreat, he thought it would be a good time and a space for me to summarize the outcomes of the conversations from Friday evening and Saturday. I call this first visit to a congregation in pastoral succession planning the Foundations Retreat, because it serves to lay the foundation for the transition plan that will lead to the search for the pastor who will succeed John. The 3 days on site also give me an opportunity to immerse myself in the culture and practices of the congregation, getting to know the people and understanding the goals and dreams that inform their ministry. In every congregation, relationships are foundational, and the first retreat is designed to build on established relationships, generate new ones, including mine with you. Despite the anxieties and the extra work that come along with pastoral transitions, I think these times are truly awesome. That is, inspiring. We hope they are not awful. That is, unpleasant. From my perspective, pastors who declare their intention to retire several months in advance of the date are giving their congregations a gift, the benefit of time to reflect on all that has been and to imagine all that will be. Pastors who have done this way tell me that rather than going out cold turkey, they appreciate the intentionality of leave-taking, knowing that the structure is in place for bridge building from the present to the future. You do know that every congregation is always in some form of transition, right? And if you'll forgive my English professor background, the word transition stems from the Latin word meaning going across. The literal definition is a movement, a passage, a change from one position or state to another. In music, the term transition refers to moving from one key to another, or a sudden modulation. In theater, the term is used to denote the passing of one scene to another, often accompanied by music or sound effects. In the case of pastoral succession planning, transition refers to managing the time in between, the time between one pastor and another. While the focus is on management and planning, I like to stress the musical and artistic dimensions of the term. Modulation, for example, is a rhythmical measure. In truth, the movement of a congregation and its departing pastor from one phase to another can feel like a change in rhythm, which can actually enhance the musical experience. An effective movement from one scene to another on stage, as my wife and I saw Thursday night at the Guthrie at a wonderful, tremendous production of Shakespeare's As You Like It, that movement advances the narrative and promotes a sense of wholeness and integrity. Good transitions increase satisfaction and inspire confidence. They deepen understanding and clarity. If you look after church today at the presentation wall in Koinonia Hall, you'll see some of the outcomes of our conversation over the weekend, several interactive experiences that involved the transition team, the call committee, the welcome team, the church council, the members of the staff, all addressing important topics like, how are you when you're at your best? How have you handled times of transition in the past and what have you learned? What vision do you have for this period of transition going forward? These activities were all designed to articulate and to deepen a shared understanding of the current realities of the congregation. If you know the TV show This Is Us, think of it this way. I asked the question, who are you, Grace? And people responded, this is us, with stories of their past. Because you know who you are informs what you do. Mission produces ministry. One of the most important tasks of pastoral transition time is to be as clear as you can about everything, about who you are at this junction in your congregational life. The greater clarity you achieve about the current realities with Pastor John present, the better the opportunity to reimagine or redefine yourself when he's no longer here. Now, I never want to underestimate the roles of Pastor Andrea and the staff and leaders at the church, but I do think that the more you understand and can describe your DNA as a congregation apart from any individual, the better position you will be in the competitive marketplace of searching for pastors. The ELCA has about 9,000 congregations these days, a few more, and about 6,000 rostered clergy. The seminary enrollments are changing and declining generally around the country, and more pastors are retiring. So you know this is not the best of all circumstances. Congregations that are intentional about this will want to demonstrate to candidates that you're telling a truthful and compelling story about your identity and purpose in the documents that you submit to the Synod to advertise your search. You'll want to make your core values visible and the characteristics of you as a congregation, the ones you hold dear. You want to be honest and clear about your accomplishments and your behaviors and your practices. You want to describe the relationships you have with one another inside and outside these walls and with the God who calls you to love and serve. My role in the process is to help you accomplish these tasks with accuracy and confidence and joy. In many ways, your situation is not unlike that which is described in this portion of Luke's gospel, when Jesus paints pictures of the life in God's kingdom. In this section, known as part of the Sermon on the Plain, Jesus asks the kinds of questions that congregations should always be asking themselves. How do we measure ourselves in terms of the responsiveness to God's grace? How do we live as children of God? By the letter of the law, as even sinners do, or with deep purpose and intention, to serve ourselves or to serve others? Hear these words again. If you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners love those who love them. If you do good to those who do good to you, what credit is that to you? Even sinners do the same. If you lend to those from whom you hope to receive, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners to receive as much again. But love your enemies, do good, and lend, expecting nothing in return. Your reward will be great, and you will be children of the Most High, for God is kind and to the ungrateful and the wicked. The implication of these questions and the statement that follows is that the life of faith is more than following the rules. It calls us to embrace justice and mercy and forgiveness and to live in the here and now as children of God with authenticity and not hypocrisy. Be merciful just as your Father is merciful. Do not judge and you'll not be judged. Do not condemn and you'll not be condemned. Forgive and you'll be forgiven. And give and it will be given to you. And then the big conclusion. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be put into your lap. For the measure you give will be the measure you get back. The image of this last verse for me brings everything into focus. The word measure, here used as a noun, conveys several crucial meanings. It can mean a plan or course of action to achieve a purpose. It can mean a standard unit of measure to the amount or degree of something. Or it can mean a container used for ascertaining the size or volume of something. The reference to measure in verse 38 suggests that living the life of faith in God's realm is like going to the market for grain, filling the container to the brim, shaking it down to fill it as much as possible, and then pouring it out into the apron of the buyer who takes it home. The message is that God pours out grace in generous measure to the communities that give it and live in it. And given what I now know about your congregational history, your identity, and may I say your name, I imagine that you understand the truth and the wisdom of living measure for measure. When the word measure is used as a verb, it means to estimate, assess, or evaluate the merit or worth of something. We ended our time together Saturday morning by customizing the congregational assessment instrument that you'll be invited to complete in the coming weeks. It's called the Congregational Assessment Tool, or the CAT. You'll be asked to offer your individual assessment of how things are at Grace. You'll be asked to indicate your level of interest and support for various ministries. You'll be invited to share your views on the abilities and the qualities and skills you seek in the next senior pastor. The CAT measures your level of satisfaction and energy. It identifies critical success factors for improvement, and it discovers where members would like to take the ministry in the future. The CAT is an online survey, takes about 20 or 30 minutes to complete. The responses are anonymous, and no one will know who responds or what they say. Members and regular visitors are encouraged to respond. In the coming days, you'll receive information from the transition team, including information about how to do the CAT if you can't or won't do it online. Here's my invitation. Please give Grace the gift of 20 or 30 minutes of your precious time to share your points of view. Every voice counts. And when you're at the computer, that's how you do it, responding to the questions, measuring the effectiveness of your congregation and its impact in the world, imagine that you as a congregation are collecting all of the grains of your ideas and your values and your thoughts, and you're collectively pressing them down into the container that's called the CAT survey, filling it to its capacity, knowing that those thoughts and ideas will be synthesized into a report that will give you a clear indication of the story you tell yourselves about yourselves, what you think and know about the congregation's life and vitality and its levels of energy and satisfaction. So in the case of the survey, as in the life of faith, the measure you give will be the measure you receive. So may God continue to bless Grace in this in-between times, these times of transition. Thanks be to God. Amen.